Actually, in my opinion,
Yeah, you can not. How did you get chosen to flip slides?
Oh, he's also a speaker.
I know, look how big you are. You can stand in front of the screen.
I'm the last guy, that's why.
Pick the biggest guy that's in front of the screen.
No, I'm not the biggest guy. He's second.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Alright. Good morning, sir, and welcome to our service learning presentation. The purpose of this is so that we can describe to you our planning process, our execution phase of our service learning project, and explain what we have learned from our experience. Our presentation will be told to you by the planning team, myself, Cadet Proya, and Cadet Bryce. Next slide, please. Alright. As we were looking for our project to do, Cadet Bryce and I started to remember a small project we did back in the past, something called Lunch Pals. And then we decided to do something a bit more with that, and so that's what we discovered, youth mentoring. And then that's where Cadet Bryce and I and our SAI went to New Bloomfield Elementary School to talk to the guidance counselor, Miss Anderson. And then while we were there, she told us that she had some concerns and some problems with the kids. Like some kids weren't really behaving, some kids weren't giving the respect that they should have to the teachers. And so the solution that we thought of would be fun activity and youth mentoring. Next slide, please. In designing our project, we decided something to better the elementary school. The first three are for the elementary school kids, so that they could actually learn how to treat people with the proper respect and how to make the right decision at the right time. The next two are for us, the team, for us to become better leaders and for us to understand those who are younger than us and our peers. And the last one is for both of us, because for us, as we're teaching them, we're also learning, but then we also want to have fun with it. And for the kids, we want them to have fun, because if they don't have fun, they won't really be interested, and then they'll lose the habit to even want to listen. Next slide, please. This represents the specific skill areas that we thought we could achieve for the students to help them. The first one, that's where they could actually talk to each other with respect. They would see each other as people and not as someone who's under them. They would actually know how to talk to a friend or actually know how to talk to their teachers. The next one, problem solving, that's where they would make the right decisions, where if they were involved in some kind of peer pressure, they would actually know if this is right or if this is wrong and make the correct decision. And the last one, teamwork, that's for them to work together as a group, work with each other to achieve a common goal, and instead of them wandering off and doing their own thing by themselves. Next slide, please. These are the key component skills that we wanted to use to improve our leadership skills. The first two, those would improve our leadership in order to understand those who are younger than us and our peers. The next three, that would help with our management, our planning, and our guiding skills. And then the last one, that would help develop our ability to evaluate what we are doing and how we can improve and prepare ourselves with that for the next lessons and later on. Next slide, please. Okay, these next two slides, they will be showing you some general TC lessons and the curriculum lessons and skills that we are reinforcing to us so that we can help with the kids. For example, supervising. We had a certain lesson where the cadets and the kids, they would get together in teams, and then they had these certain shapes in front of them, and they would have to create 4 or 5 different squares. But the problem was they weren't allowed to talk to each other. They couldn't really communicate with each other. So they had to figure out a way to create those 5 squares without talking. And then that's where Cadet Bryce Proy and I, instead of us going around talking to them, telling them to do this or that, we would go and supervise each cadet member to see if they're participating, to see if they're helping around with the kids, interacting with them, making sure that they're interested and the kids are interested in them, and to make sure that they're all having fun together. Next slide, please. And here, another example is delivering instructions. That's where we learn various teaching methods in order to have them better understand what we're doing. like for example, at the end we would have a game where we would do kickball, and for that they would use teamwork. And the reason why is so that they can try and win. They have a common goal to do. They have a common goal. They want to achieve victory. They want to win, and that is where team building would work. I will be followed by Cadet Troy.
Good morning, sir. This shows that these are visible signs that we're achieving our goals. And the first three show that we're developing our social skills, and then the next three show that we're developing our teamwork and problem solving, and then the last one shows that they're having fun with us because they look forward to us coming, so it all goes back to the goals that we set earlier. Next slide, please. The feedback sources, we chose Miss Anderson and the parents because they're the customers, they're the people that are receiving what we're doing. Miss Anderson works with them in the classroom and notices improvement or not, and their parents notice them at home when they're away from school and whether they're improving or not. And to final this out, we came up with a sheet with a bunch of questions to see how they're improving and if the goals that we're setting are working or not. Here's the sheet. Next slide, please. So here we did some recruiting to recruit cadets around the campus, and then we did like a training session to see how well they worked with them and what they needed to change to meet our requirements. And for the school session and the planning, 1 week we'll do the planning to figure out what we're going to do the next. Like we'll come in and sit down and figure out what we're going to do in our groups and what kind of game we're going to do and what skills we're going to try to teach them. And then after we do the planning 1 week, next week we'll go and we'll execute our plan. And then when we go to execute our plan, we have a schedule from 1:45 to 2:35. And the first half of it is the large group where we get in with our icebreaker and start to get to know the kids, and then we'll go into our small group and start to work on our skills. And then for the second half we'll do our games, and then we'll come back here after it's all over and then do a reflection to see what worked and what didn't. Next slide, please. The skills that we're trying to develop is communication, decision making, and social skills. For our communication, we do something called winning colors. We have these cards with different colors for different situations. Like brown would be in the classroom for when it's time to get serious and do your work. Red would be if you're out on a playground and you want to be adventurous and jump around. And blue would be like if you had a sad friend and try to comfort them. And green would be if you were inventing something or creating a new idea. And there's a card for this. Decision making, we had a game with marshmallows and toothpicks where they had to build a tower as high as it can go, and the highest one won. And the thing was they had to decide how they were going to build it so it didn't fall over or it didn't collapse after they built it to a certain height. And for peer pressure and problem solving, we did a game where we had jars with a bunch of M&Ms in them, and they got in groups and wrote down on a piece of paper how many jars or how many M&Ms they thought were in the jar. And then after they came up with a number, they had the choice to either stay with the group or go on their own and pick a new number if they thought that number didn't satisfy them. And social skills, that's where we do our games, like when we go in the gym and do kickball and then the bag relays or whatever we do. And it works on everything that's listed because we do the game and we recognize everything, good or bad. We give them high fives and show sportsmanship and respect one another. So. For recommendations, for this, all the criteria that's listed is because we want kids that are going to set a positive example for the kids down there at the school, and that are going to guide them in the right direction, deliver the skills that we're trying to teach them. And we need people that are committed all the way to the end of the project, because we start to build a bond with the kids, and they expect to see the same person there every other week. Next slide, please. The requirements that we need are all available for us. We work with limited resources, but so far we've had everything that we needed We have leftover school supplies and gym supplies for everything we need to do our lesson. And for transportation, we have the school van that's always available for us. And everything that we don't have, Colonel Butler's spent $100 on to get everything that we need. Next slide, please.
School dinners.
Our schedule, we start off in the large group, like I said earlier, as an icebreaker to get to know the kids a little better. And then we go into our small group where it's a little just mentor the kids, so kind of one-on-one thing where it's skill-centered. And then we come back into the large group for a discussion, for a reflection, so the kids can tell us what they liked and what they didn't, and what they noticed that helped them and what didn't. And finally, we'll go into the game where we develop our social and team skills and play the game, and then they have fun, and then we come back for our reflection. And now I'll be followed by Cadet Bless.
Good morning, sir. This is our general timeline that we initially developed to carry out the project. We use a backward planning phase. To do this, we knew we had to be done by the 1st of May. So we started there. So we set dates to figure out, we have to plan for our reflections, plan for our report writing, and for our final brief. And we started on the 1st of April, which is our last reflection in our last mentoring session. We came up with November 5th of the start date, and we needed time to plan for the recruiting and the volunteer training. This is our detailed calendar. This is a calendar that we represent, that we actually did, and how we went through the project. Our goals was to hold a peer mentoring session every other week, but as we went on and we had our AARs, we planned that we had to plan for reflections, and we found that we had to compensate and adjust to it. We had done 2 get to know yous. After AAR, we decided we needed to do another one because we felt it was more beneficial for the children. And we did another how to communicate with the winning colors, as you see there, because we ran out of time, and we planned on doing the entire program in one activity and one lesson. So we just combined the goals for 2 weeks in a row. Next slide, please. And we did the same thing for Christmas experience and Christmas categories. We combined those for 2 weeks in a row because we wanted to get the whole thing, well, we couldn't, so we did it in 2 weeks. So the Christmas experience, where we went there and we taught the kids how everyone experienced Christmas in different ways. And with the Christmas categories, we taught them how celebrating Christmas in different ways is good. Next slide. And this is this is our calendar for the rest of the year. Next slide. And this is our reflection phase. We broke our reflection phase into 3 phases with the planning team, Breif, and Beck and I. Things that we learned, how to backward for structure and have time to do everything. The second thing that we learned is going into detail on specific goals, on what we're going to teach them to achieve their goals. And the third thing that we learned were plans within planning, because we had to plan and write a new lesson every week accordingly to teach the next lesson. And the second phase we have learned was the execution phase. After each lesson we did in AAR, we would come back and we would talk as a group with our volunteers, and we would talk about things, what happened, and what did we learn, and what did we do going forward. The things that we learned were being late is not a good thing, because if we're being late, then that means that screws the whole thing up, and we don't have enough time to set up, and it's just, the kids are out of control, and like it's really hard to get everything back together when the kids are just running around in the gym and stuff. And another thing that we learned is being prepared, because if we're not prepared, then the kids will come in and they don't see anything set up, and they run around the gym because they think it's gym time. So if we have everything set up before they get there, then everything will run smoothly and we can go straight into our activity. And the next
skill that we learned was project completion. We use a skills map to see what skills were we improved on, and we get feedback from teachers and parents from the survey that we have done. And we also talk about how we can make it better for next year. This is our project assessment. Our project assessment is meant for the community that we serve. They give us feedback on whether or not we're meeting our expectations and goals on planning. Our planning team has done. We already had invented surveys that you have, and we gave them surveys out mid through the year, and we got feedback from Mrs. Anderson, and she came on January 21st, and we talked about the things that need to get better and things that we are doing good at. And the key things that she said were the kids are a lot better in class, they're in a better mood about coming to school, and the motivators to come to school in the days we have peer mentoring because they like us, they like that we're doing, and they build a bond between us. And also is they say that they show respect in class toward the teachers and their fellow peers because that's one of the skills that we're teaching them. And the teachers use it as also another motivator. If they don't do their homework, then they can't come to the peer mentoring. And we're going to do that again at the end of the week. Next slide. Any questions?
Yes. What are the age groups of the elementary students? Is it like grade 1st through 5th?
No, it's usually about 4th or 5th graders.
Okay, so it's the upper end of elementary school.
Yes.
Is this something new that you just started this year? Or is this been going on?
No, we had like a smaller project of it. Like we had something called lunch pals where a few of us would go and eat lunch with them, interact with them, talk to them, maybe go to recess with them. And then last year, that's where we kind of started to make it bigger, where it was kind of the same thing here, except it wasn't as fully developed. But then this year is where we actually got it all down.
How many volunteers do you?
We have like 13 to 14.
13 volunteers, 13, 14 from Carson.
Yeah, Carson, yes.
And you take what about, how many of them go?
They all of them.
All of them go?
Yes.
Everybody goes in the van? And
Yes.
goes down with it. So what do you assess as you talk about the elementary school students, what do you assess as the greatest benefit to those that are the mentors? I assume all three of you are mentors, right?
Yeah, also.
What do you assess as kind of the benefit to you being able to go there? And
How they benefit from us.
the pleasure of being able to mentor, is that what you mean?
Yeah, because there is a big change in that. Because it's just, once we go there is a big change.
Have you noticed that your ability to communicate, to plan, I mean, is that improved at all? I mean,
Oh, yes, yes, definitely.
And prior to going, you talked about after action review.
Yes, sir.
Prior to going, I know you have a meeting. Do you guys do any type of rehearsals or?
Yes, sir. Usually after our sessions, we come down here, have our reflections, and then like Breif said, we go every other week. And the reason is because last year we went every week, but then because of that we didn't have enough time to go over with everyone what we're going to do. So now this year we're going every other week, so that the week after we did our lesson, that same day we would come here and then we talk to everyone about, or like say, all right guys, was this good last week? Should we go further now, or should we stay here to see if anyone had problems? And then we go over our lessons. We make a lesson plan on that computer there, and then we discuss it with everyone and make sure they were comfortable with what we're going to do the week after.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
Prepare for the next one. That way you look like a professional, you know what you're doing, you don't show up. Even 4th and 5th graders, they know if you're not prepared. I mean, they know. Especially when you're going into a school where the teachers are always prepared, you know.
Yeah.
Generally. They're not always, but most of them. No, very, very nice. That's an excellent program. So,
Now you earned a donut.
Oh!
you're doing that. All right.
Now you're